Good morning, Sonder family. I can't think of a better song that kind of embraces that whole idea of momentum than that song sung by Susan Boyle. If you don't remember her story, it was on, Britain's Got Talent or one of those shows, and she just came out and belted that song, and it was talk about some momentum, right? So anyway, I wanted to play that this month. And we are at the end of the month, so I had to do it. Welcome to the end of your first quarter. It's so nice to see you this morning, the Monday bunch. You've got Team Jennifer on the call. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. And then my co-facilitator this morning is Jennifer Kribner. She's popping on, giving you a wave. And she's coming to you from Minnesota, where she is now experiencing more snow. This crazy weather that we have is spring on its way. We're trying to get there. So we are finishing up with the last week of March and our last week of digging into the theme of momentum. And I know that it's been kind of a neat thing to look at our lives and what we do through that lens. So anyhow, my kind of goal this morning is we're going to think strong and we're going to be strong and we are going to finish March strong. So make sure your chat is set to everyone. If it says host and panelist, only Jen and I will see your message, and we do like to do a lot of sharing in our time together with our Sonder family. I think we have a lot of sleepy heads this morning because our normal numbers are a little bit down. Is there anybody who's here for the very first time that you are attending a setup social for the first time? Please just drop a me in that chat so that we can give you a good welcome. Oh, you don't think the email went out. Okay, we may need to look into that. I'm gonna take a quick peek at Sonder Club and see if we're having some login issues. Sometimes with that Eventbrite, that will happen. But Jen can also uh, get on that, and we can encourage folks to go find their Eventbrite sign up. Okay, I'm not seeing a whole lot in Sonder Club yet, so maybe folks, you did get an email. Good, Sherry. Well, welcome to our newest socialers. You may be sitting with your April journal and you're just kind of here trying to like see what these setup socials are all about. So no worries if you haven't been here. Take notes while we go along, get screenshots. We're going to show you a lot of ways to use your journal either as it is, but also some ideas for repurposing because we all have different things going on in our lives. So, okay, so Jess is saying that she didn't get an email for the login, but she was able to go through Eventbrite. So maybe we can post up a little note in Sonder Clubs to go back through Eventbrite. Right. And there it is spring break throughout the country. I'm gonna chat for just a little bit. I think I see our numbers kind of popping up there. But I think, Eventbrite's been a little finagly because I see this from time to time. So again, make sure that that chat is set to everyone so that we can share with each other. When we are gathered together, we always like to remind you of our community guidelines. This is part of Sonder Club. When you're part of that, you've seen these, and we just like to put them up as a reminder about our time together and that we do create a safe space for one another. And so just that reminder to treat yourself and treat others well while we are gathered together. These socials, you're always off camera and off mic. So you can kind of do your own thing as you work in your journal. Our agenda this morning, it's a weekly setup. So we'll be doing that monthly mind map. This is the fourth week of looking at momentum. We'll be doing a rosebud thorn reflection based on our previous week. How did last week go? And then we will dig into setting up those weekly pages. So I loved this quote that I read in an article. Momentum is not simply the ability to get started or get going. Momentum is the ability to sustain what you start. And so we have kind of been having this lens of figuring out, are there areas in our life that we've been a little stuck? And how do we start and how can we maintain through the month? And we've been doing a lot of reflection through our mind map, but also our journal prompts. So, as I mentioned, this mind map, if you're brand new, when you come to these weekly setups, you are going to receive a bonus prompt, if you will, to your journal. And it is this monthly mind map. We take the theme, and then each week, through the lens of that theme, we dig in a little deeper into different areas of our life. And we work on these prompts to hopefully help us kind of figure out how that theme really does fit into our lives. So here are our 4 weeks worth of our momentum mind map. And if you remember week one, we kind of did a duality. We reflected on, where we felt stuck or lacking in development, but also conversely, what are some things that we were proud of? And then week two, we looked at maybe some specific obstacles that were in the way. What were the things that were blocking us from getting unstuck, kind of looking at maybe our personal tendencies, how we tend to frame out our days. We didn't come up with any solutions. We were just kind of trying to name that. Last week, then we took that and we started thinking of ways to view those places that we felt stuck as opportunities for growth. So we dug into that a little bit and took a small step or so. And then this week, week 4, what new routines or habits could you implement to accelerate you a little faster with a little more intention? So now we're breaking it down into little things that are a little more specific. And this is a graphic from James Clear. We love James Clear. He is the author of Atomic Habits. And he says, one of the keys to those habits is taking a big habit and breaking it down into smaller habits. And I think like we kind of know this, but we don't often do it. We just think we have to have this big idea and dig in. He's like, if you want to go walking every day, your first habit is grabbing your tennis shoes and putting them by the door in the morning, so when you get home you see them. So you take that kind of baby step into this habit to get unstuck. So there is my momentum mind map. When you do a mind map, you can do this in a number of places in your journal. I chose a notes page, and I actually chose the very last page of the journal so that I could easily turn to that mind map. But I know folks do it on various pages, maybe the quote page, maybe you do it as part of your weekly setup and do it in the weekly scratch pad. So wherever you want to do it. But, I had shared over the past weeks, my just overall taking good care of myself, good nutrition, great sleep patterns, and some intentional movement every day. Those are the things that I'm just, all the things, that I'm working on and that I'm stuck and I couldn't get unstuck. And so I started, why is this so tricky for me now? Looked at those things and then decided, I've got to focus on more protein. That is a key. I feel better. The doctors are telling me that's what a person my age should really do. So this week, I have broken that into the habit of more protein and planning my breakfast and snack. Like I'm going to make sure I'm very cognizant of what I'm eating during that time. So to break it down, I'm going to start my mornings with lots of protein, a big protein dump. So, my goal is yogurt, doing a whey powder and peanut butter powder to just really oomph that up, either through yogurt or through making a smoothie. I already had my smoothie today. And then always plan a good, nutritious afternoon snack. I get hungry about 3 o'clock, and I end up just kind of not making good decisions. So, really planning those 2 things out. So that's the direction that I have taken this to move me forward. I'm gonna leave this slide up with all those questions on there. If you missed a week, you can grab those. Play a little music while you work on yours. And I'd love to know kind of, what you're thinking, what are going to be those new habits or a new routine in your life to keep that momentum moving you forward. All righty. Thank you for working on the week 4 mind map. And just so you know, next week's setups are going to kind of have a bonus prompt. We're not going to quite embrace the new theme in April next week, but it's going to be a very good reflection over the past 3 months of themes. And if you haven't been here, no worries, but just want to put that in your head because I know like next week's kind of weird. And we were all like, do we need 5 spaces? Do we need 4 spaces for each one of these weeks? So next week will be a bonus. I saw some really great stuff in the chat about, perhaps considering ways of habit stacking. That is, again, James Clear reminds us how important that is. Take something that you need to start doing and pair it with something that you're already doing so that you kind of set yourself up for that success of it actually happening. So, habit stacking is a really great way of incorporating a new routine or habit in your life. Think of something you're already doing, and then making that happen. Yes, a daily Pomodoro technique where we do that timer for 25 minutes, take a break, set another timer for 25 minutes. I Jennifer and I were actually talking about, kind of working under a time crunch. For some brains, that's just what you need. And I would purposely procrastinate on things just because I work well under pressure. So setting those timers provides kind of that cue to my brain. You've got a limited amount of time, and I just tend to thrive when I've got got that ticking clock against me. I don't know what it is, what that says about me, but so setting the doing the Pomodoro, that is a great idea. And remember, it can be tiny little things. Just like I was saying, if I want to walk 5 miles every day. Well, the first step is you get your shoes and put them where you're going to see them so that you'll put them on. So it's really breaking it down into a small habit. Just, take this big habit, but putting small steps in place leads to more success. So anyhow, thank you. That was good work. Let's now turn to page 50 in our March journal. And if you're sitting with your April journal and you don't have March, just do this on a scratch piece of paper. This is a reflection over last week. We always do a reflection over our previous week because it helps us kind of see where we've learned, what areas we've grown in, what maybe things we want to leave behind if we're able to. And it just sort of puts a lot of power when we can put those things down on paper. So the rose is always that, happy thing, that good thing, the thing that just brought you joy, that you are proud of yourself, or maybe something happened that was wonderful to someone in your life and you're celebrating them. It's something you're grateful for, a very positive thing. The bud is that thing to come. Maybe there's something in the works. And sometimes when I can't think of a bud, I just realize, I got a new week ahead. The week itself is a bud. So it's that thing that's going to give you some inspiration or some hope and motivation for something new that's coming your way. And then the thorn is exactly, stressful, challenging. Do you need more support? This went terribly wrong. Sometimes those thorns hang around, right? And you're dealing with some issues that might be ongoing, some financial burdens or some health burdens, but there's a lot of power, like I said, in just writing about it and putting that on paper. And so I had said last week, one of the buds I had was looking forward to kind of a gang reunion of the people I'm from the Houston area and I don't live there anymore and I don't get to see my people very often. And so we had a reunion and that was my rose this week. We met in a little town in Texas called Leona, and it's a general store that has been turned into this steakhouse. And we all met and broke bread together, and it was just so much fun. My bud is I have this little plant stand in my neighborhood, and I have visited not my neighborhood, my little community, and found it through Facebook, and it's called Take a Plant, Leave a Plant. And I've gotten to use it a couple of times, and it's just, I'm so excited because like every day somebody's leaving something new. I'm a gardener in my retirement. I'm outside all the time. And so I love this opportunity of interfacing with people in the community. I think we're gonna have a meetup. It's gonna be really fun, but we just swap out plants and trade, and it's lovely on the budget. And then last week I told you guys I had a picture of a possum for a thorn, and my husband's been at this camp house dealing with it, and it's kind of hard to see in the image, but he put a little game cam up underneath the house and caught the critter in action going into the house to make his bed in between floors. And it is not a possum, it is a skunk. And so that is a huge thorn. My husband is still there trying to catch this thing. It's a very smart skunk. And today is the day he's finally agreed to call the exterminator. Y'all, it's bad. So I don't know what we're gonna do. But anyway, I just thought you would maybe appreciate the saga of what's been going on. I know I'd rather have the possum, I'd rather have roaches. I've gone through the list of all the things I'd rather have. So, thank you for my therapy and letting me just claim that and put that out there. You guys work on this for a few seconds, few moments, and I'll come back and check in on you. Let us celebrate your roses together, and let us, just hold your hand through those thorns. Please share as you're comfortable in the chat. I'll be back to check in. Thank you for working on your rosebud thorn reflection this morning. Um, I love that you were able to really focus in on those things that brought you joy last week. Um, there were some vacations, it's spring break time. Um, Julie just posted, I had a busy week, but I took care of myself. That is a definite win. A lot of family time happened last week. I was curious as to, I was wondering if anybody has ever sat and done like a picture cutout, like a collage, or maybe you printed out little pictures and did your rosebud thorn that way. That could be kind of a neat thing to consider if you have the time to sort of tap into those creative juices for this prompt. I was just curious about that. Maybe that might be something worth looking at some point. And oh my goodness, you finished your taxes, Jonna. I'm so jealous. That is now going to be my every week big major to do until it happens. I guess I said I was working with Katie last night and somebody else said it's tax time. I got it, and I was like, oh, and we all scrambled our journals and write due taxes. So yeah, it's that time of year, man. Ugh. So thank you for sharing, for working on that, and I'm celebrating you and then reminding you that as you're looking at those thorns and maybe have some tough feelings with that, you do have your Sonder family here supporting you. So always remember that. Let's take a look at week 13, and that's going to be found on pages 52 and 53. We're going to do our weekly setup again. If you're brand new and you've got your April journal, take some notes, grab some ideas, watch that chat, because Sonder Club will share what they use these different areas for. This is a list of ways that people have maybe changed up some of these spaces. Not exhaustive. I always say that, but just it's worth maybe grabbing a screenshot of this, especially if you're new, to think about like, oh yeah, I am a gardener. Maybe I will dedicate one of these spaces to all the things that I want to do in my garden. Then I've got it written down. I'm tracking it. It will help me recall what I did, when I did it. Or maybe, when I worked, I actually just kept a list in my closet. This sounds so silly, but a wardrobe tracker. And I would write down kind of my basic, what I wore, because you tend to gravitate to what you love. And I found myself wearing, the same thing often. And I worked with little kids and they will call you out. And so I tracked, I wish I would have been tracking my wardrobe in my journal when I was working, if I'd had it then. So again, just some ideas. We always start off with thinking about how we want to feel this coming week. And I kind of didn't mean to, but I ended up with a word of the month because I have used my feeling for the whole month as I've been doing this sort of health journey reflection through the mindset of momentum. And so my word has been consistent. So I've just used the same word. And I realized yesterday when I was kind of starting to do my weekly setup, like, you know what? I ended up with a word of the month. And so if that is something that speaks to you, grab onto that. Think about, how do you want to feel? Do you have lots of words? Do you want to use an affirmation? Was there an affirmation that jumped out to you last week and you're going to like, I'm going to use that as my feeling? Share in the chat how you're wanting to frame out this week. Maybe you have some fabulous stickers that you can pop into this space, or think about, what is your focus this week? Maybe that focus word is the thing, could be if you're an educator, maybe it's midterms, how do you want to feel this week? So like I said, I'm going to be consistent, and under my word consistent, I'm asking myself the question, what would a healthy person choose or do? And so that is kind of helping me frame out my choices, how I'm setting up my to-dos for the day when I'm scheduling in time. Sarah says she wants to be happy and motivated, which is a great time of year to get that motivation, that new, we love spring cleaning, that new season that's coming our way. Alice is saying she wants to be proactive in goal reaching moments. So no right or wrong way. And maybe you just bring that word over from last week. It doesn't have to change up every week. That's why I shared mine. It's like I just ended up that's the word. That's the word of March for me. Centered, happy, wonderful, lots of great things, ways you want to feel. And so now we're going to take a look at setting our goals based on what we want to do to have that feeling. Jonna is spring cleaning. That's going to probably be top goal, right, Jonna? And she says, I want to feel clean. That's going to be her word as she embraces this week for spring cleaning. And I shared this last week. I love this quote. The most important thing you can do to achieve your goals is to make sure that as soon as you set them, you immediately begin to create momentum. So it's that forward movement that we want to see. So those 3 goals, there's so many ways that you can set this up. You can tie these directly into those monthly intentions that you set a few weeks ago. Look at that habit tracker. Maybe it's all about momentum in your life and you frame that around there. Um, at this time of the month, I always like to go backward and to kind of take a look at the previous weeks. Are there some goals that haven't been met that I could just bring forward to finish the month strong? Kind of that end of month reflection. So that might be where you get your goals for the week. And you can have 1 goal, you can have 3 goals, you can have more, but remember when we're taking on more, we want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success. So be sure you're not taking on too much, right? We want to keep it manageable and kind of set ourselves up so that we can accomplish that and feel successful. What a lot of our Sonder family members will do, and I've got some great examples of this, is that they make a category for each one of the 3 goals they set. So perhaps something for your left brain, something for your right brain, and then something that just allows you to not really have to use your brain to have that relaxing moment, or maybe a delete, a delegate, a delight. And then again, if you had a word of the year or a vision board, check in with that. Maybe this is the time to kind of see if you're on track for what you were thinking this year would look like. So here are some samples from you guys. I'll go through these so that you can see them as well as art. We're going to look at that to-do list, these 2 sections, and then I'll go back through these slides while you're working on them. But you can see the one there on the left. There's a mind, a body, and a soul. Three separate goals for the week that they are doing. Some intentionality there. To feel intentional, I need to journal daily, pray daily, and go outside daily with little check marks, one for each day for that self accountability. Um, it's really how you want to do. I shared this one last week. 1 thing I must do, 2 things I want to do, and 3 things I'm proud of. So that little reflection piece. I love that idea. And then we've got our 3 major goals there on the bottom left, paired directly with the to-dos for the week, kind of made a little bingo board out of that. And then you can also use this space in other ways. There's some repurposing ideas. Maybe there's a quote to inspire you. Maybe you're trying to embrace spring and you're going to set some ways up to do that and slap a sticker on there. Or maybe there's some new recipes you want to try or explore 3 topics to keep that brain sharp. Or looking for fun activities for the week. And then I had shared, I've been working on my routines to support my overall health. And so there's that good morning routine. That's what I've used my goal space for. I've repurposed it into this daily check in with myself. And then now that we've got those goals, we want to take a look at the to-dos that, what are the things that we're going to do to make sure that those goals happen? And so this space again can be used right just as it is, a to-do list. Lots of folks also split this up into different areas like self, home, work. Maybe you just make a list of your chores for the week, or you have look at the one on the bottom right. That's a school list and a personal list, or a work list and a home list. Just dividing it up so that it works in your life we always shout out to the Eisenhower matrix. This is a great way to take all the to-dos and make them sorted out, let them be sorted out by their importance and their urgency, all the way down to what you can eliminate. And then I shared last week, I left this up here because I thought it was brilliant. The idea of, instead of maybe a delete box, that's your donate box. And that's one of the things that you're working on. We love the spring cleaning decluttering time. So I love that donate, like it, it's getting deleted, but we're calling that space donate. And then some ways to kind of change it up a little bit. You can make this a to-do list. Y'all know I'm a to-do person. I leave this space blank, and the extras that I do in the week, I write those down to kind of like reward myself for getting it done. My to-dos go on my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're very day specific. Maybe you're leaning into how to be. And so your list is going to be turned into a how to be list, or a to don't list. What things do we need to take away that are not serving us? And then, of course, lots of times bingos go there. So let me put on some music. I'll go back through all of these slides so that you can work on yours and let us know, what are you doing? How do you set this up? What works for you? Alrighty, so we have our goals and our to-dos for this week. Or if you're still working on it, again, I want to remind you, kind of the last week of the month is a great time to flip back through the previous weeks and see, are there any undones that need to happen so that you feel like, okay, I did it, I got it done. Don't lose momentum on that. So you might want to take a moment to go back and flip through the undones. And a lot of times, all of those things that are left undone, I might refer to it as, the dread list because I didn't get to them. There's probably a reason I put it off, and it's maybe the things I just didn't want to do. And I create this dread list and just knock them all out and get them done. So, again, another great reminder to look back over the past month, and are there undone things that you want to make sure you do? If not, draw a line through it, be done. Just say goodbye to them, and that's okay too. So thank you for sharing in the chat. Kiki is looking for April. She doesn't know where she left it, so send her some good juju. She can't find her April journal. I was sharing with her, when my journal comes in, I usually put it on the scanner and I make a copy of the coloring page. So I have a couple of extra copies so I can fiddle around with those for our socials. And I will search the entire house, and then my husband will go, "Did you make a copy of the coloring page?" And then sure enough, there's my journal. So, Kiki, we're sending you good juju that you will find that April journal. So now let's take a look at our habits and activities for this week. And so since we do have some new Sonder family members here, you have a big habit tracker, that wheel that is in the front of your journal. And we like to frame that one out thinking about the things that we want to see happen most days of the month. That's kind of our consistent routine check-in thing. The habit and activity tracker that is in the weekly setup um, can absolutely have those same habits on it, but it can also be designed to fit the needs that you have this particular week. So maybe that's changed up. And the habits could be the things that go on here. Maybe there's something that just needs to happen one time, but you're putting it in this tracker for that accountability piece. Right. I'm hoping that that makes sense why we see two different habit and activity trackers in our journal. So I also know that several of you focus on your work chores, or thing action items, and you put those in this space, in that weekly space. Um so, from Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So, these habit trackers help us seek that excellent self. So, here are some ways that our Sonder family have used to set this tracker up. You can set a number of goals that you want something to happen. And if you want to get very specific, you can actually kind of pre-circle the days that you would like those goals to happen. So maybe, if you look down at the very bottom right, pack lunch for work 5 times, and circled the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So those are the days that activity is going to happen. The one that's at the very top left, shower Monday and Thursday. Got those days circled, made already, that made a date with self. Now, you may notice the one on the left, the upper left, which I think is brilliant, and I do this quite often. My very first line on my tracker actually says check monthly tracker. And it's that pointer back to, don't forget to open that page and take a look at it. So the one that you see on that upper left, that's how they're tracking all the trackers in their journal. They're using this weekly tracker to go check in with the mood tracker, to go check in with the habit tracker, to look at that sleep tracker, to make sure that they've done their gratitude log. Um, the one right below it, you can see they've divided those circles up because these are things that are happening 2 times a day. So things like brushing teeth or taking your medications and vitamins. And I love, dividing that circle and then you color in the half instead of completing the whole circle. Look at the one in the upper top there, that the one in the middle there. 3 goals. You don't have to fill out every line. That's that reminder. And then I love the one on the very bottom. Look, 3 to 5 times as a goal to be creative. To work on organizing crafts 3 to 5 times. So kind of giving yourself a range and being gentle with yourself if you don't get something done. And I always like to remind you, your blank spaces, the things that didn't happen, are also part of your story for the week. So when you're looking at like, I didn't do anything, well, maybe you had priorities that took you away from the tracker, but it doesn't mean you didn't do anything. Those blank spaces just tell a story of how your week went. We're setting kind of some expectations for ourselves, but they're not meant to shame us if it doesn't happen. They just give us a picture of what is going on. And then finally, over on the right, look in the middle. This person's not tracking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Perhaps they're traveling, or perhaps, so you could do that if you're tracking your work stuff, then Saturday, Sunday will be left blank. And then I have some other ideas for some habits you could add to that tracker. Let's work on this section. Tell us how you use it, what kinds of things you'll be looking at this week, and I'll be back to check in with you. Just a moment. Right, and Julie brought up a great point. She's on vacation, and so she is focusing on that this week. It is okay to take a break from these trackers when you need that. So good work. Now we're gonna pop over to page 30, I'm sorry, 53, and we're going to look at all the spaces on this page, and I'm gonna show you a ton of ideas. And so maybe something that is in the mind body health plan section, you may end up putting that in your meal plan section, or perhaps some of the things that you are planning um, for meals this week may actually go under your shopping list if you don't use the shopping list as a shopping list. So, we're going to just kind of look at all the different ways these sections can be changed up. Now, again, you're invited to use them as they are, but also feel free to change up anything so that this becomes a very relevant tool for your life and what you have going on. So here, let's start with that meal plan. There's that clothing plan, so that you're tracking that wardrobe and what you're wearing. And then we have just jumped on board with the great idea of a meal plan for your soul. What are you doing for your soul? And so those reflective pieces, and don't worry, I'll go back through all of these as you are digging into this page. Here's some more ways of setting up that meal plan to perhaps fit what's going on in your life. And I love the idea of using the water droplets as a tracker for something. It could be what you're drinking. You can color code it. So, brown is for coffee or tea. Blue is for water. But I also know that it's great to if you're looking on like maybe you're doing how am I feeling? Let's just say you're doing a feels and meals tracker. And so you're going to eat and then you're going to think about how you feel after you eat that. Maybe, it's a symptom type tracker. And perhaps you could use those water droplets as a scale, like on a scale of 1 to 8. How do I feel after I ate XYZ? Having all that information in one place is great for your healthcare provider. And then you'll remember, oh, when I, ate that cheese, it made me feel like a 4. So just kind of that way to track that. It's a great place for your to-do list. When we jump over to that mind body health plan, this is a space that I repurpose a lot. I always say that because it kind of depends on what I'm focusing on. Sometimes it's just what does my soul need? What kind of rest do I need? Lots of folks will divide this up into mind, body, soul, mind, body, health. Perhaps this becomes a daily reflection piece. So, like the little graphic in the middle, my 1 week of gratitude, and you frame that out for this reflective piece about that. Maybe you just put a couple of stickers down that make you feel good, that remind you of momentum. Then there's also a lot of different ways to kind of lean into taking care of the things that you need on a day to day basis. Like you see in the bottom middle, I need to go outside, shave my legs, fold my laundry, those things that just make me feel good. Maybe not exciting self care things like a massage, but all of those things are still self-care. So, what you kind of ask yourself, what do I need right now? And take that. Again, those journal reflections, a journal prompt for every day. I brought this to our attention last week, this wellness at work. So, if you are in an outside workspace with others, perhaps you embrace the days of the week by doing some work challenges and enjoying wellness with others. And then I love, alliteration days are just fun. So, maybe you do Talent Tuesday and you focus on a talent that you have. A Wellness Wednesday. What are you going to do to take care and pour into yourself? And then there's our fun days for the week, this week that we have coming up. So just, if you want to kind of embrace each day with a little National Day of Wisdom, you could do that. Then we have that shopping list. And I had alluded to the fact that I was doing my morning routine over in my three major goals. And then my shopping list has become my good night routine. Rhythms and routines are so important to me. And I just don't do a good job without having that built in work day. anymore. So I really lean into that. Lots of folks like to make different types of bingo. Look at the one on the bottom middle. This is a self care shopping list. Take what you need, and just a lot of different things in writing. So now we have some power behind that because we put it in writing. And just that reminder that you're looking at, like, what do I need right now? And you've got this whole little menu to choose from. I love that idea. And then we've got the I am loving box. What are you loving right this very minute? Last week was for me the longer days, and I'm actually still loving it. I'm loving that I can be outside a little bit longer every day. So let me put on some music while you work on this page. Tell us what, if any, repurposing you do. My shopping list is on my phone and I share it with my husband through a Google list. And so I always change that shopping list up into something else. It's usually a bingo, but this month it's been my nighttime routine. So tell us, what do you do? How do you change this up? We want to know, and I'll be back to check in with you in just a moment. Okay, lots of great ideas in the chat. Thank you for sharing. And I would absolutely love to see some of these sections posted in Sonder Club so that we can share with one another, and we can see exactly what you're talking about. Here are the QR codes that will get you to be able to refer a friend to Silk and Sonder where they'll get $10, you'll get $10. We're still running that promotion. How to upgrade to a yearly subscription, and then, of course, the new feedback survey. I guess it's not quite as new as it once was, but we want you to fill those out. That helps us know what kind of programming you want to see to support you in your journal journey. And then Jennifer is going to drop all the chat or all the links in the chat so that you can access our private YouTube link and go see the recording of this social or any social that you missed, and you can really dig through some of those. I think there's nearly 700 of those things now to find other recordings of old, if you ever just like, I need to sit and do a journal prompt, go find you an old um, social and work through that and just find yourself some peace. So anyway, I totally highly recommend that. I will be back on Wednesday. We're going to be working on the SMART goal and kind of got some new ideas for a gratitude jar. So even if you've already done that, maybe come and check us out because I've got some ways that you can bring that forward into other months. And I just want to thank you. Team Jennifer loves kicking off Monday mornings with you. Have a fabulous last week of March. See you next time.